Imagine Keith Urban under the stadium lights, guitar slung low, hair perfectly tousled, flashing that $1,000,000 smile to a screaming crowd of thousands. He looks like the definition of a golden god, the picture of effortless success. But just hours before this, he was shaking on his bathroom floor. The reality behind the gloss was terrifyingly different. We're not talking about a single slip-up or a bad weekend. Keith has been to rehab 3 separate times, fighting a battle that nearly buried him long before he became a household name. This wasn't just a physical makeover or a PR pivot. His unexpected transformation was a desperate survival necessity. He was crawling on his hands and knees, drenched in sweat, hunting for rocks of crack cocaine at 5 a.m., knowing that one more mistake wouldn't just end his career, it would end him. Everyone thinks they know the happy country star married to Nicole Kidman, but the truth is much darker.
To fully grasp the man standing in the spotlight today, we have to exhume the buried timeline of self-destruction he fought to keep hidden from the world. We're peeling back the layers of a secret life that almost silenced him forever. Before we start, don't forget to press that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's begin. Nashville in the early 90s wasn't just a city, it was a fortress, and Keith Urban was the barbarian at the gate. He arrived with a beat-up guitar and a dream that had already conquered Australia. But on Music Row, he was treated like a joke. He didn't look like a country star. He looked like a surfer who got lost on his way to the beach. While the industry was churning out polished men in Stetsons and starched shirts, Keith was wild hair, tight jeans, and a guitar style that screamed rock and roll. The rejection was brutal and absolute. Record executives didn't just say no, they laughed him out of the room. They told him he was too loud, too foreign, and too weird. One label exec bluntly told him to pack his bags and go back down under because he would never fit in. Imagine the humiliation. You play your heart out, sweating and throwing your body into every chord, only to look up and see an empty room. Night after night, he played to 3 people, sometimes just the bartender. He was broke, sleeping in a van, and completely isolated in a foreign country that seemed determined to spit him out. This wasn't just a career stall, it was an identity crisis. The silence of those empty hotel rooms became deafening. The pain of being told you were worthless over and over again created a void that demanded to be filled. He needed a way to turn off the noise of failure. He didn't start using to party, he started using to stop the screaming in his head.
That silence was quickly deafened by the roar of stadium crowds. By the time the new millennium broke, the weird kid from down under had cracked the code. He wasn't just surviving, he was thriving, dominating the charts with smash hits like Somebody Like You. To the public, Keith Urban was the golden boy of modern country. Sun-bleached highlights, a 1,000,000-watt smile, and a catalog of songs about sunshine and open roads. But the tour bus doors hid a nocturnal nightmare. While fans were singing along to his anthems of freedom, Keith was trapped in a claustrophobic cycle of chemical dependency. The routine was terrifyingly specific. He wouldn't wake up until 3 or 4 p.m., the shame of the previous night already setting in. To function, he'd do a line, drag himself to soundcheck, and paste on the smile. He'd play the show with manic, fueled intensity, feeding off the energy of the crowd to keep the crash at bay. But the second the stage lights cut, the darkness returned. He didn't go to after-parties. He retreated to the back of his bus, a mobile prison cell with blacked-out windows. There he would sit alone, obliterating his consciousness with cocaine and sedatives until the sun came up, terrified to be left alone with his own thoughts. The world saw a superstar living the American dream. The reality was a man shivering in the air-conditioned dark, measuring his survival in grams, convinced he was fooling everyone. He thought he had it under control, but one phone call was about to shatter his world.
June 2006 should have been the victory lap. He was standing on a cliffside in Sydney, marrying Hollywood royalty in a ceremony that screamed happily ever after. To the paparazzi hovering in helicopters above, it was the ultimate celebrity fairy tale. But fairy tales end at the wedding. Reality starts the next morning. For Keith, reality was a horror movie that started playing the moment the honeymoon ended. While Nicole was away filming, the silence of their new home didn't bring peace. It brought the demons back. He didn't just slip, he plummeted. The spiraling was fast, violent, and chaotic. He was a newlywed husband living like a bachelor with a death wish, hiding his stash and hoping the woman he just vowed to cherish wouldn't smell the chemical burn on his clothes. It all imploded in October, just 4 months in. Nicole didn't send a lawyer. She flew home from Rome and walked through the front door. She didn't scream or throw things. It would have been easier if she had. Instead, she stood there with a group of his closest friends, and the look in her eyes wasn't anger, it was terror. She was looking at a man she loved, watching him actively destroy himself.
That look broke him. Keith later confessed he felt like he was burning the house down while his wife was still inside. He saw the devastation reflected in her face and realized he wasn't just hurting himself anymore, he was incinerating their future before it even began. In that living room, surrounded by the people who refused to let him die, the rock star ego finally crumbled. He didn't fight. He didn't argue. He looked at her and said, "Put the cuffs on." The addict had to die so the husband could live. Betty Ford Center wasn't a finish line. It was a brutal reset button. Keith spent 3 agonizing months stripping away the chemical armor he'd worn for decades, eventually emerging raw, exposed, and terrified. But here's the twisted reality of addiction. The demons don't vanish just because you stop feeding them. They just retreat into the shadows, waiting for you to blink.
If you're enjoying this video, please hit the like. It's free and really helps the channel grow. Oh, by the way, I will be posting more videos like this, so please subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss another deep dive from me. Many assume the credits rolled right there. Sober in 2006, happily ever after, right? Wrong. The battle didn't end when he walked out of that facility. It simply changed shape. For years, Keith lived with the suffocating knowledge that he was only ever one bad decision away from the abyss. He wasn't cured. He was a man walking a tightrope without a net, haunted by the fear that the old Keith, the one who craved the chaos, was still lurking inside, waiting to hijack the wheel the moment he got too comfortable. The drugs were gone, but the threat of sliding back remained a constant, silent companion.
You clicked on this video because you've seen the photos. You've scrolled past the recent red carpet shots, paused, and done a double take. This isn't just about a new haircut or a different stylist. The title of this video promises a transformation, and the reality is staring us right in the face. Keith Urban doesn't just look different. To many of his Day One fans, he looks unrecognizable. For a man who built his legend on raw, rugged authenticity, sweating it out in Nashville dive bars with unkempt hair and the road worn into his skin, the shift is jarring. The rough edges of the aspiring outlaw have been sanded down, replaced by a visage that seems to defy the natural laws of aging. The youthful smoothness of his recent appearances has the internet whispering and often shouting about plastic surgery. The rumors are relentless. Fans point to the frozen forehead, the suspiciously plumped cheeks, and a jawline that seems sharper than it was 20 years ago. The tabloids throw around terms like fillers and pillow face, dissecting every millimeter of his skin. It's a shocking contrast to the man who once wore his battle scars like badges of honor. But before we judge, we have to ask the uncomfortable question. Is this just typical Hollywood vanity? Or is it a man trying to physically erase the evidence of his past? When you've spent decades at war with yourself, burning your life to the ground and rebuilding it from the ashes,
Perhaps you stop wanting to see the old version of you in the mirror. Is this surgical precision simply a bid to stay relevant? Or is he trying to carve away the face of the addict to protect the husband and father he fought so hard to become? That desire to scrub away the grit didn't stop at the mirror. It bled right into the recording booth. If you track the timeline, the smoothing of his features lines up almost perfectly with a sonic pivot that tore his fanbase in two. Gone were the guitar-heavy, whiskey-soaked heartbreaks of the Golden Road era. In came the drum loops, the synthesizers, and the shocking collaborations with Pitbull on albums like Ripcord. To the purists, this was heresy. They accused him of selling out, of abandoning the storytelling roots of Nashville to chase the hollow sheen of pop radio. They wanted the sad cowboy back. But they were missing the point. Keith wasn't just changing his genre. He was protecting his life.
The tortured artist isn't just a romantic trope. For a recovering addict, it's a relapse trigger. You can't live in the darkness of a tear-in-your-beer ballad when you're fighting every day to stay in the light. Keith stopped writing the sad songs because he stopped living them. He traded the jagged edges of his past for the polished optimism of pop country because that is what survival sounds like. He isn't that tragic figure anymore, and frankly, he refuses to sing like a man on the edge of death just to keep us entertained. The only other option was silence, the permanent kind. We often forget that just 4 months into his marriage to Nicole Kidman, Keith wasn't worrying about chart positions or wrinkles. He was in a treatment center, realizing he had to execute his former self to keep breathing. He knows what it's like to stand in the ashes of a life, literally. When he was 10, his childhood home burned to the ground, leaving nothing but charred black walls. Decades later, he nearly did the same to his own soul. So this unexpected transformation goes infinitely deeper than the dermis or a discography change. That polished exterior is the armor of a man who walked through fire and decided he didn't want to smell like smoke anymore. Every upbeat chord and every smoothed line is a deliberate rebellion against the darkness that almost swallowed him whole. The hidden truth isn't about vanity, it's about victory. The Keith Urban standing on stage today is a survivor first and a superstar second. He paid the ultimate price for that smile. So let him have the pop songs and the preserved youth. He isn't hiding his history. He is living in defiance of it. Every scar he carries, visible or not, is a trophy.